cactus and succulent growers, I'm Lynn. Welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon in the north of Ireland, and in today's video I have a cactus rescue video, and this is one of my Opuntia rubescens, also known as Consolea rubescens, commonly known as the roadkill cactus because it's very flat pads. And this, as you can see, it is rotting quite drastically. This has literally happened in a day or two. I check my plants very regularly and there was nothing wrong with this. Literally a day ago, I came in here this morning and seen this rot coming up from the base here. Very, very fast rot. And obviously it's a bit of a shock to see it happen so quickly like this, but I'm very positive it can be saved. And if you happen to have this happen to one of your cacti, particularly the Opuntia types like this Opuntia rubescens or any other type, then just to let you know, if you get the rot quick enough, it can be saved. And I have made quite a few videos in the past on how to save a cactus from rot, so I'll link a couple of them videos up above. Do go and watch them after this one, depending on what type of cactus you've got. In this case, this is one of the pad type of cacti, as in a case of Opuntia, and they're easier to save because it's just a case of giving it a cut well above the rot, which I'm going to show you in this video. With the more barrel type of round cacti, it can be a little bit more difficult. So then, what has caused this? I actually don't know. The soil is dry. It's summertime at the moment, in case you're watching this video in the future. I always make sure my cacti are fully dry before I water them again, as in the soil. I don't keep them permanently wet. But rot sometimes happens despite everything, and you don't know what you're doing wrong. So I always like to show anything that happened to my plants, good and bad. I hope I can share some helpful tips in this video. So first of all, what do you need to save it? Obviously, if this rot had spread all the way up, it would be a goner. But there's quite a bit of this cactus left here to actually save it, as in cutting it here and letting it dry, callus, and then once it's callous, I can then reroot it as a cutting again. So what I've got here, obviously, is a sharp knife, a clean sharp knife. I've also got some Bodo mixture, which is like a bit of a copper powder that is a fungicide. It helps to stop any more of the infection spreading. You can also use cinnamon powder as well, because that's a good natural fungicide. I've got some rubbing alcohol in a spray, and the reason why I've got that is because I'm going to be using that to clean the knife if I have to do another cut. If I cut here and it's still infection, I have to cut higher up, and in between each cut it's really important that you sterilize the knife, as in the rubbing alcohol, and tissue paper here to clean the knife. I've also sterilised the knife as well, both with boiling water and with alcohol beforehand, so it's totally clean. A little brush here and a little pot to put the Bodo mixture in, so I can just dab that onto the cut wound. I'm going to show you all this in this video. So here we go. Here is the Opuntia rubescens, and now I'm going to show you how to drastically and dramatically save it. So then, obviously, I have to remove this from the pot, which will not be hard because it's just like that. Move that away. And it's really important as well that when you have rot, you do not reuse any other soil. This is just going to be thrown out now because it's infection here. And as I say, a very clean knife. And what you want to be doing then is, you can see this is where the infection is here. So you want to make sure you go at least ½ an inch above that, because if I was just to cut there, you're going to have still the infection here. And as I say, totally clean knife, so I'm going to go like this and straight. It can be sometimes a bit tough. Oh, there we go. That's obviously going to be binned. I wouldn't recommend composting infected parts if you're going to be reusing the compost, obviously. Now, this is where you want to make sure here that there's no infection. As you can see, there's still a bit of yellow and a bit of brown there. So I'm going to have to go higher up again. You want to make sure this is completely green and there's none of this brown there. And I've mentioned that in a few of my cactus rescue videos. I just want to apologise for my stuffy nose, guys. I get a lot of allergies during the summer, so I sound like I've got a really, which I have got a blocked nose, so apologies for that. But anyway, you want to make sure that you go well above here. Now, as you can see, there's still a bit of yellow there, so I'm going to have to cut. And as I mentioned, if I was to just use this knife and go like that, there's going to be infection on this from the disease that is in the rot that is in this cactus. So this is where this comes in handy here. The rubbing alcohol. I want to spray there thoroughly, because rubbing alcohol, this is 99% rubbing alcohol, and it's great for killing any infection. And then wiping that, so it's totally, the knife is totally clean. This is important in between cuttings, because if you just go and cut above clean part, you can spread any other rot that could still be on that knife there. So I'm going to have to go above a bit more here now. So I'm going to go another inch or so, half an inch or so, and go there. Straight down. Looks like it's okay. That's good. You can see there. So that's going in there. And this here is a clean part. These little brown bits is quite normal. There's no yellow, there's no rot, so that is clean, which is really great. So then what I'm going to be doing now is, you can see that's clean. And I'm having to talk quite quiet as well because it's very early in the morning here. As I say, this is something I can't put off until the afternoon because rot spreads very fast on cactus. So I'm just going to tip a tiny little bit of powder. I'm using Bordeaux powder, which is a fungicide powder, copper powder, but you can use also cinnamon powder as well, which is probably a bit easier to get and more economical. And then dabbing on just a tiny bit on there. And you don't even have to use any powder, it's just that I prefer to use that because it helps, again, it helps to prevent infection. And that's it. So then turn that there. I've got a bit more powder I can use for a later date. Now, it is really important once you've took the cut in that you let this cut part form a callus. And although I've got this blue powder on, you'll know when it's formed a callus because it will go totally hard and crisp. And it can take a few weeks to a month or so, depending on the diameter of the cactus cutting that you're having to take. Obviously, if this was a big fat cactus, then I'd have to probably wait 2 or 3 months for it to form a thick, hard callus. This should probably take a couple of weeks. And what I do then is I'm going to be potting it up into pure grit to encourage it to root. And a lot of people say, do you have to water cactus cuttings? What you have to remember is that they don't have roots, so it's not going to be able to take water up. You can just put a cactus cutting purely in dry root, in dry grit, leave it, and a cactus will still send out roots. I've even rooted cactus in air, guys, especially serious cactus cuttings. So I'll also link up above a video I did on how to root serious cactus cuttings without soil or water or anything. They will just send out roots. And then after about a month or so, I'll just start to spray a little bit of water around the top surface of the grit to encourage rooting. It's sort of late summer now, it's August time, so it's still in its, it would normally be sort of active growing season. But if you were doing this in the winter time, I would actually recommend obviously letting it callus as normal, as I mentioned, potting it just into pure grit and just letting it sit there, and then don't introduce a bit of water till the following spring. And that's because it's going to be going through its dormancy anyway. So I'll probably include a little video when I pop this up in grit in a couple of weeks' time as well. But I just wanted to show you, should you have this happen to yours. So That's so obviously when you've took the cutting there, I don't want to put this back into sunlight because it's going to need a shady place to form a callus. It's also going to need a dry place. Do not keep this outside where it's going to get wet. Put it in a shady place, but in a sort of bright place, but away from direct sun. So I'll probably put this under the table in my polytunnel where there's going to be no direct sun, but it's going to get plenty of ventilation, but it's also going to get light as well. So you don't want to put it into a dark cupboard or anything like that. So a dry position, obviously, bright position, but away from direct sun, and most importantly away from a lot of heat, because it doesn't have roots. You don't want it to dry up before it's had a chance to form roots. So anyway, I hope you found that video useful, and sorry it's a bit of a disaster video. But thank you so much for watching, everyone, for lots more tips and tricks on how you can care for and grow many different types of cacti and succulents. Don't forget to subscribe. Do click that notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon for lots of lovely flower videos of my cacti and succulents on there. And do check my website out as well for growing tips on there, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day.